Hello everyone, today we're diving into a fascinating comparison between two of history's greatest leaders, George Washington and Winston Churchill. Both men led their nations through critical times of crisis, but if we break down their leadership into measurable data, who comes out on top? Let's find out. Part 1. Background introduction. Let's start by introducing these two iconic figures. George Washington led the American Revolutionary War to victory, and established the foundation of a new nation as the first President of the United States. Despite facing numerous defeats early on, Washington demonstrated resilience and strategic insight that ultimately led to success. As president, he laid down the framework of the Constitution, and established a functioning government. Winston Churchill guided Britain through the darkest hours of World War II, resisting Nazi Germany's relentless attacks. His leadership was not only military but also psychological, inspiring a nation to endure and persevere. Churchill's speeches and unwavering determination became symbols of hope and resistance. Although both men saved their nations in times of crisis, their leadership styles were quite different. So, what happens when we analyze them through objective data? Part 2. Leadership criteria. To evaluate their leadership, we've established 4 key criteria. War command ability. We evaluated their strategic, decision-making, battle success rates, and ability to adapt to changing situations. George Washington faced overwhelming odds during the American Revolutionary War. Despite many defeats, he demonstrated exceptional strategic endurance, especially in battles like Trenton and Yorktown, which proved pivotal in securing American independence. Winston Churchill, meanwhile, led the British forces through a much more complex, global conflict. His leadership shone particularly in coordinating the Allied forces and planning decisive operations like the Normandy landings, showcasing his capacity for grand strategy and coalition building. Score: George Washington 80, Winston Churchill 90. Public persuasion ability. Analyzing their ability to inspire and unite the public through speeches and public appearances, George Washington relied heavily on his actions and steady leadership, rather than dramatic speeches. His calm and authoritative demeanor earned him deep trust and respect, though his direct communication impact was less pronounced. Winston Churchill, on the other hand, excelled in public persuasion. His speeches, such as the famous Blood, Toil, Tears, and Sweat, rallied a beleaguered nation and motivated them to continue resisting against all odds. His rhetorical skills were unmatched, and public approval soared following his speeches. Score: George Washington 75, Winston Churchill 95. Policy execution ability. Evaluating the effectiveness of their policies and their influence on the nation's development, George Washington excelled in establishing the fundamental structures of American governance. He played a crucial role in drafting the Constitution, creating the executive branch, and defining the presidency itself. His voluntary retirement after 2 terms set a critical precedent for peaceful transitions of power. Winston Churchill's leadership was exceptional during the war, but less effective in peacetime. His post-war policies were less successful, and his failure to secure re-election demonstrated the limitations of his policy execution in non-war conditions. Score: George Washington 90, Winston Churchill 75. Legacy and lasting influence. Measuring their enduring influence on future generations, and how they are remembered today. George Washington remains a towering figure in American history, symbolizing integrity, resilience, and the principles of democracy. His leadership principles and institutional foundations continue to be revered today. Winston Churchill, while celebrated for his wartime leadership, has faced more mixed evaluations due to his less successful domestic policies. However, his reputation as a defender of democracy remains powerful. Score: George Washington 90, Winston Churchill 80. Total scores: George Washington 83.75, Winston Churchill 85. Part 3. What if they hadn't existed? What would have happened if these two leaders never existed? If George Washington had not led the American Revolution, the United States might have remained a fragmented collection of colonies. His leadership was essential not only for securing independence, but for establishing a functioning government capable of enduring future challenges. If Winston Churchill had not led Britain during World War II, it is likely that Nazi Germany would have overwhelmed Britain. His speeches, strategic decisions, and ability to rally the Allied forces were essential in turning the tide of the war. Part 4. Today's winner and conclusion. The winner today is Winston Churchill. George Washington's total score 83.75. Winston Churchill's total score 85. Churchill's exceptional public persuasion abilities were the decisive factor that gave him the edge. However, it's clear that both leaders demonstrated unparalleled leadership qualities in their respective eras. Today, we compare the leadership of George Washington and Winston Churchill through a data-driven analysis. Who do you think is the greatest leader of all time? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.